Hey there, and welcome to another exciting episode of Mike Redesigns Concord. Not really a title, but anyways, today we're doing the character known as LENNOX, who, upon looking at him, is clearly a lizard space cowboy dude. So that's kind of the motif I went with. I went through and I tried to, find out. He's just got the most obvious skill set, so I didn't have to delve too far into backstory to make a absolute decision on the direction I wanted to take with this character. Before we jump into that, allow me 30 seconds to introduce myself. My name is Mike S. Miller, 32-year professional comic book creator, video game concept artist, writer, blah, blah, blah. I'm the creator of multiple intellectual properties including Imaginaries, Deal with the Devil, Six Gun Samurai, and Lone Star. Available to pre-order at LoneStarComic.com, link in the description below. Our vision here at Blacklist Universe is ultimately to create a multimedia venture to bring quality and ethics back to storytelling. We're tired of the DEI woke agenda ruining every book, comic, game, movie, and TV show, and we're bound and determined to do something about it. If that sounds good to you, then join us by subscribing and maybe even supporting us as a channel member. No one can fight the culture war alone. We're here to fight and to make a difference, and we hope you are too. And one more thing, I do a weekly live stream at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time called Drawn and Quartered, where me and a group of my other professional artist friends get together and draw and chat and have a good time, and we would love for you to join us. Now back to the video. So the first thing I did was emphasize the lizard quality of the lizard design. I mean, when you look at the original character, it's like they humanized a dude and gave him limbs. I swear, all the characters in this, they try to focus so much on giving him human. It reminds me of like first generation Star Trek, like where they didn't have the budget to give people like really cool, features. That all the aliens were just guys with like, I don't know, pointy ears or shaved foreheads, whatever it was. They didn't have the budget for makeup, so they just made everybody look human. That's kind of what Concord reminds me of. So I went in and I gave him more of a realistic, or not realistic, but a more lizard-esque face, which did beef him up a little bit, but it is what it is. So then I went in and I was trying to maintain sort of the design elements of his ridiculous life vest and see if I could do something with it that would actually look cooler than this big yellow life preserver thing it looks like he has on. I gave him the cowboy hat because he's a space cowboy, and just having the dollar store yondu hairdo, it just wasn't working for me. So once I gave him the cowboy hat, I realized how the vest, it just try as I might, I cannot make. What is happening? Oh boy. All right. Well, coming back. Sorry. I know you didn't miss a beat, but I did. My program decided to crash, and then I re-recorded and didn't unpause the recording. So I have to do this again for a third time. Anyways, welcome back. Welcome me back. Where was I here? So I'm gonna start over. So I gave him the Lee Van Cleef hat from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I know that Cassidy, formerly McCree on Overwatch, took the Clint Eastwood Man with No Name design, which is, frankly, it's probably where I would have gone with this initially, just because I love westerns. I love spaghetti westerns. I love all those Clint Eastwood movies. His arch nemesis in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly was Angel Eyes, played by Lee Van Cleef. And so I went with more of an Angel Eyes sort of motif here with the trench coat and the flat top wide brim hat and sort of that attitude. I think the pose kind of plays into that attitude already. So I went with that direction. And if you do notice, I took away part of the life vest sort of design. I tried as I could, I tried as hard as I could to maintain that life vest just as a design element. It didn't work. I don't know, man. It was way too Marty McFly and not enough Lee Van Cleef. And so I did at least keep the interior of it where it's sort of a high collar which gives him a cool shape, like from the hat to the shoulders. It gives it this cool sort of, this broadening shape from his head to his shoulders. And I don't know, that works for me. And I know it's not as recognizable as if I did the whole life vest thing, but that's fine because the life vest thing looked terrible. I don't know where they got this idea, but it was not a good idea in any way, shape, or form. So, yeah, here I'm now starting to ink in the details. I gave him a raggedy old hat. You could give this hat a whole backstory. You could give this character a backstory, and why is he wearing, like, all his other stuff is pretty relatively, new, good condition, but he's got this beat up old raggedy hat. It's like, did he get it from his dad? Did he get it from his grandfather? Did he get it from an old man who taught him the ways of the 6-shooter? I don't know. But you could create great stories, and you give characters interesting elements. That's kind of the way my brain works. Ever since I was a kid, when I would start drawing a character, I would be drawing him, and whatever particular part of the character I was drawing when I was designing it, I would come up with these backstories, and like, why does he have this badge? Why does the badge have a ding on it? Where'd the ding come from? And blah, blah, blah. But in this case, I'm not delving that far into it. Actually, I did this on Drawn and Quartered last night, which is our weekly live stream where we go in and me and a bunch of other professional artist friends get together and do some live drawing. Please do join us Wednesday evenings, 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, if you would. So I changed his shoulder pads to these shoulder pauldrons. They are sort of space age looking, sci-fi. It's, what, I think honestly, it's kind of ubiquitous, this kind of angular shaping on space armor, and I think it really all comes from like Masamune Shirow, like Appleseed or Gundam or other anime manga influences into the West, because it's kind of all over the place now, but I don't think you saw that before like the late 80s, 90s manga stuff started coming out, and then people just started cribbing it because it's such a great design, and it really does make shapes more interesting. And again, when you're designing, every shape has to be interesting. The coat he's wearing underneath the pauldron, it has to be interesting. I could have just done a drop down black trench coat, but it's like, that's boring. It might look good when you're in a business suit in a meeting in an ivory tower in New York, but it's not fun if you're playing it for a video game character. It's like, you're not an Undertaker, you're not Wyatt Earp, you're a space lizard cowboy dude, and so because of that, you want to give it particularity, actually. Actually, that's probably the word. And you could see it. I know this is kind of, the image keeps flipping around, but I gave him those arm bands that you see on a lot of dealers in poker houses, especially in old Western shows and stuff. And so that's so that they can pull their sleeves up, and it'll hold it. The armband holds their sleeve up. And I think poker dealers did it so they could show they didn't have anything up their sleeves. But in this case, I thought, you know what, man, a quick draw artist, that would be a great thing for him to have, because you could pull up your sleeve, and then your sleeve wouldn't get in the way of you. It might give you an 1/8 of a second drop on good old Sheriff Brady, if you know what I'm talking about. Young Guns reference for those of you who never saw Young Guns. So here I am, and I know this is a space western, but I gave him bullets and bandoliers and stuff because that is cool cowboy stuff. And maybe the bullets are plutonium, maybe they're batteries, who knows? I'm not sure what his firearms use. Anyways, the gun shape is based on the classic Lee Van Cleef black powder gun, which didn't make sense in Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, because he had this black powder cap and ball gun, if you look at it in the scenes, but he's got bandoliers with live round ammunition, which you can't use live round ammunition in a cap and ball gun. But anyways, that's sort of a tangential issue. It's just one of those. On the boots. So the original character, you can see these aren't cowboy boots. They're boots. Maybe they're reminiscent space cowboy boots. I don't know. But the original design, nothing about the character other than his gun and his swagger made you think cowboy, right? He's got a freaking life vest on and a space suit, and he's got a lizard head with freaking dime store Yondu hairdo. I don't know what they were thinking that would make you think space cowboy, but you know that's what the motif they were going for. So like at the very last second, they're like, you know what? This doesn't look anything like space cowboy. Maybe we should give him cowboy boots, because that makes sense in space. Cowboy boots. No, that doesn't make... He's not going to be riding a horse, which is what cowboy boots is designed for. He's not, looking out for rattlesnakes, which is also part of what they were designed for. So I just gave him the regular boots, and I gave the rest of his design that cowboy motif that you are so desperately lacking in the initial, which when you look at the silhouette of the character, honestly, I think this is one of the more successful silhouettes I've done to portray the character as you would describe him when you're sort of pitching this character to the design team. Hey, we want a space cowboy lizard alien. All right, let's do it. So I think I did that most successfully out of all of the Concord characters with this one so far. And if you disagree, let me know in the comment section below. Anyways, once again, I drop my shading or my tonal layer down first, and then I go in and I excise the light as it comes down. Singular light source, although I did give a little bit of bounce lighting on his face because that wide brim hat drops everything down to his shoulders in shadow, and I wanted to give a little bit of light on his face, but it couldn't come from the same light source. So it's fill lighting or bounce lighting, depending on how you want to phrase it or what you're talking about. And I go in and I deselect the highlight areas so that I can have that 3-tone tint tone hue, as I say in all of my videos. If you're doing sort of a simple anime style coloring or comic style, this could pass as simple comic style coloring. Tint, tone, hue. So you've got your basic hue color, your basic hue or color, then your tonal layer, which is your shadow of that color. I use sort of a purple or a purplish blue for my tone, and then I set it on a multiply layer at about 40%, so it gives a nice solid shadow. And then I go in with a white layer down to about 25 to 30% opacity. I meant opacity on the other one too. And that gives it the tint of the hue. So you have tint, tone, and then core hue coloring. And now here I go and I'm dropping in the different hues or colors so that we could break up the space and make it more interesting, because otherwise it's just a giant gray block. The coloring I chose here, it is all sort of the same tone. That is to say, the same saturation, the same, I didn't do a lot of variation in saturation, although the red is a little bit brighter just because it's red, right? Kind of the cheat sheet on color theory is that you can have a lot of different hues, but if you do that, you have to tone down the saturation, because the eye can only handle so much. If I took bright yellow, bright red, bright green, these and you pumped up the hue or the saturation on them, it becomes an eyesore. But the more you desaturate a thing, the easier it is on your eyes to accept all of these colors, contiguously on the body, all at the same time. And at the same time, you can have, I don't think I'm going to do it on this character, but you can have like a lot of the stuff desaturated, and then you can pop certain things out with highly saturated elements. Like the gold bands, I think. The gold bands on his arms are a little more saturated. This red here, it's not the brightest of reds, so you get what I'm saying by this. Okay, so as I was coloring this, my friend Elliot was reminding me that this is basically Boba Fett coloring, and I'm like, well, you know what? Boba Fett is like the perfect space cowboy character, right? So I don't feel too bad about the Boba Fett coloring. Here I am going through some different color variations, some different skins, you might say, as you're, flipping through your select screen and you have all these different skins that you can pick from. But ultimately, I went back to the more or less Boba Fett coloring, and this is my final. I think this is one of my more successful Concord redesigns. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. I have been trying to answer everybody's comments. It's it's been a lot of work. It's a lot of comments, and I do appreciate every single one. So please do tell me what you think about this in the comments, and it helps the algorithm, so it helps the channel to grow. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. If you want me to finish out this Concord series and do all of them, yeah, let me know again in the comments section below. And thank you for being here. I appreciate every single one of you who are subscribing. We are really growing this channel quickly, and I guess that's about it. Thanks everybody for being here. God bless you all. I'll see you on the next video.